A poor immigrant missed one bus and found a secret no map shows. A frozen floor, a whisper behind crates, a choice that costs everything. Stay, and you'll learn why a lullaby can disarm a war, and why a king of shadows fears a girl's first word. She had $3 in crumpled bills and a phone at 2%. Her name was Amara Johnson, born in Kingston, Jamaica. She spoke soft. Careful English that always gave her away at counters. Visa papers had taken years. Luck had taken longer. Tonight, luck was late. The last city bus lunged from the stop and was gone. Its red tail lights blinked like distant warnings and then dissolved in rain. Amara sprinted after it in shoes that weren't truly hers. One sole flapped wet as seaweed, slapping pavement with small humiliations. Her backpack thumped, textbooks she could barely afford, receipts she couldn't face. The campus strip shuttered early. Cafes went dark. Security vans prowled, slow and uninterested. Her roommate had set new rules about unexpected guests named Debt. The November wind trimmed her thoughts to survival, shelter, warmth, breath. Walking home meant 4 hours through blocks that mugged daylight and devoured midnight. She listened to the wind scrape warehouses like nails across glass. A door hung crooked on one of them, half committed to closing. Behind it, only darkness. Darkness was still better than streets with names she'd learned not to say. "Just until morning," she whispered. Bargaining with a world that didn't haggle, she slid through with her shoulder, careful not to scream the hinge awake. Inside smelled of rusted rain and pallets swollen with ghosts of water. Moonlight leaked through a comb of broken panes. Gritting the floor in tin squares, Amara found a shadowed corner and tucked herself small. Her breath fogged like paper promises. She pressed her palms under her thighs, chasing heat like it was currency. Her grandmother's voice, salt and smoke, rose from memory. "Sing when fear gets teeth, child." Make your own choir? It felt childish. It felt necessary, somewhere deep. The building sighed. Pipes coughed, rats debated, wind rehearsed a door's funeral. Then a sound uncurled. Not metal, not rat, not weather. A sound with edges too soft to belong to machines. A wet, failing little breath that missed its courage halfway out. Amara's spine locked. Every true crime podcast she had ever pretended not to love shouted no. Stay hidden. Stay silent. Survive. The sound happened again, thinner, near the far wall. She waited the length of 30 heartbeats, then stood anyway. Her phone gave up its final blue sigh and died. So she took the moon's mercy, one silver square at a time. She moved slow, cataloging hazards in whispers, glass, nail, edge, drop. The closer she walked, the more the cold knifed her resolve. Another breath, a little scrape, something alive, small and failing. "Hello?" she said, voice bent into kindness, fingers spread to show emptiness. The warehouse swallowed the word and gave nothing back. She took 3 steps, then 4, then forgot to count. Her backpack slipped. Textbooks thudded. She winced at the noise. Silence regrouped. Then a muffled whimper, like a secret begging to stay one. She rounded a barricade of water-warped cartons and saw a shape. Curled, barefooted, a dress that started, expensive and ended torn. Black hair tangled into a dark crown of knots. Face hot with fever shine. A small body rippling with shivers it couldn't outrun. "Hey," Amara breathed, kneeling so fast her knees confessed to concrete. "I won't hurt you. I promise." The child startled, crab-crawled against brick, eyes wide and ancient. No answer. No voice. Only a stare that had learned adults like weather, unavoidable and mostly unkind. Amara eased her arms up. Empty hands open to the moon. "I'm Amara. I missed my bus. I'm only staying till sunrise." Her jacket was narrow as her life and twice as precious. She shrugged it off anyway, moved slow, and draped the denim over those shaking shoulders. The child flinched. then froze, then breathed. Shame heated Amara faster than the air. Her own sweater was thin and wet. She felt the night reach into her bones and settle rent-free. "Just till morning," she said again, to herself this time, as if vows were blankets. The child's teeth clicked against each other like bad lockpicks. Amara slid down the wall beside her, close, not touching, like one might sit beside a hurt feral cat. Minutes took their time, produced nothing, and demanded payment. Amara hummed to fill the debt, not words, just a tune her grandmother had thrown across storms, stars, harbor, home. It made the warehouse less teeth and more echo. It made the child's breathing loosen, by degrees, into sleep. She did not sleep. She became a chair, a lantern, a furnace that barely remembered fire. She tucked the jacket edges around tiny knees and watched for rats and reasons. On her phone, there would have been a mother in Jamaica waiting on check-ins. On that mother's counter, a jam jar full of wishes disguised as coins. On Amara's calendar, double shifts that didn't care about winter. On the other side of this night, a quiz, a warning, a landlord with facts. Inside the warehouse, only cold. Only the small gravity of a girl who chose her lap over brick. Amara sang softer, then only breathed, then only watched frost write cursive. Across a steel drum, a clatter. Outside cut the song in half. Engines. Not one. Many doors slammed with a synchronization poverty never learns. Headlights carved the open bay like scalpels. The child woke the way drowning people do. Silent, violent, clinging. "Shh," Amara whispered, knowing it was a lie and the only truth she had. Boots struck concrete in purposeful agreement. Black shapes poured through the hanged door. Weapons clipped to gravity. She folded herself over the girl without thinking and met a red dot with both eyes. "Don't move," a voice said, made of stone and winters. "Tell me, what do you do when the only safe choice is the cruel one? If you believe kindness can still bargain with danger, stay with us. We are only at the door." They came in a crescent, sightlines clean, breath white, eyes unreadable. One man stayed back, as if danger traveled to him instead, no weapon visible. No need. Authority rolled off his shoulders like heat over asphalt. His gaze took in everything between blinks. Pallets, glass, a jacket that wasn't warm enough. Then it landed on the child in Amara's arms. And language failed him for one beat. "Elena," he said, voice cracking open around the name. The girl tipped toward the sound like a compass finds north. "Please," Amara blurted, pulling the child tighter though her muscles complained. "She's sick." I'm not here to hurt her," the man said, and the room believed him first. Up close, his face was carved by long nights and short mercies. He smelled like rain on leather and something sharper underneath. "My name is Dante Morales." He stepped forward carefully, hands empty, eyes lowered to the little face. She reached toward him, paused, then curled her fingers back into Amara's sleeve. The twitch in his jaw was not anger. It was pain with military training. "You stayed," he said to Amara, as if the word itself were rare. Where else could she go? Amara answered, surprised by her own steadiness. Her lips were blue. Her hands shook. She wouldn't admit the cold had been winning until it met this sudden heat of men and engines and plans. Dante looked at the bare feet. The split hem, the denim cocoon that still smelled of laundromat soap. He looked at Amara's thin sweater and immigrant. "Courage, blanket," he ordered without raising his voice. It arrived in 2 heartbeats and crossed the warehouse like a message. He wrapped the child with hands that knew both violence and lullabies. "Who did this?" he asked the room. The room had no names. It only had echoes and wet footprints and the aftertaste of fear. The girl's mouth trembled, then tightened, guarding stories that hadn't learned to come out safely. "We need a doctor," Amara said. "We need heat, water, food. She needs someone to trust?" Dante finished, meeting her eyes so directly she almost looked away. Elena pressed her face into Amara's collarbone. The tremor in Dante's breath said more than his words. You are the first safe thing she's chosen in months. Outside? Engines idled like held breath. Bring the car, he said. We're leaving. Where? Amara asked, already standing though her legs were glass. My house. I can't. I have class in... You spent 6 hours on concrete keeping my daughter alive. You are coming with us. It landed like a verdict and a thank you the same size. They moved as a unit, the warehouse shrinking behind them into rumor. Boxes turned back to shadows. Moonlight folded its little grid and went home tired. Amara climbed into a car that cost more than every year she had been alive. Seat warmed like a miracle. Classical strings threaded the cabin. Someone had set them low on purpose. Elena took her old place against Amara's side. Small hand locked on denim. Dante watched the girl breathe, counting some personal inventory of miracles and costs. Is she yours? Amara asked, hearing the stupidity and asking anyway. My daughter, he said, almost not to her. My only child. How long is she? 4 months, he said. Since her mother died. The car inhaled with him and exhaled a road. I'm sorry, Amara said, and meant a thing words can't usually carry. She hasn't spoken since, he added, eyes still on Elena's lashes. Not to me. Not to anyone. Amara swallowed memory. Her own silence at 7 had lasted 2 weeks and taught her how rooms change when voices hide. She said one word tonight. Amara ventured. Dante's head snapped toward her. Whose? Mine. It wasn't pride. It was embarrassment shaped like wonder. For a second, his certainty flickered like a bad light. Then he nodded, as if he had already decided to believe the strangest thing in the room. They turned through iron gates tall enough to insult. Heaven. The estate lifted from the hill like a verdict read in marble. Staff lined the steps in a quiet panic choreography. A woman in a white coat waited at the door with hands that smelled of antiseptic and coffee. Elena needs fluids. The doctor said after the fastest exam Amara had ever seen. Fever's breaking. Dehydration's the headline, she reached, gentle. But the little girl clamped harder onto Amara's jacket. Maya, Elena choked. Then found the rest. Don't go. The corridor held its breath. So did Dante. What did you say? He asked, softer than any room had heard him. Elena did not repeat it. She pressed her cheek to Amara's throat and hummed a tune that had learned the shape of safety. She knows my name, Amara said, as if Dante hadn't heard it better than anyone. Dr. Ishikawa, Amara caught the name late, lifted a brow that meant we will recalibrate. Stay while I set the IV, the doctor said to Amara, already rearranging protocol to fit a child's first yes. Rooms swept around them, soft walls, soft lights, soft rugs that ate footsteps. Elena's room looked like a catalog had tried to understand a princess. Too perfect, too careful. Like someone had bought everything comfort-shaped and forgotten how grief actually sits. Amara sat on the edge of a bed. That could host a village. Elena climbed without being asked and made a nest in. Denim and blankets and heartbeat, Amara sang the storm song smaller now, almost a thread, and watched the girl's chest even into something like trust. Dante stood in the doorway and didn't move, as if moving would spook an animal and an answered prayer. Thank you, he said, which sounded insufficient and catastrophic at once. He looked like a man who could end wars and couldn't open a music box. Tomorrow, he added, voice careful. We'll discuss terms. Amara stared at him. Terms? You kept my daughter alive. She responded to you. I will not risk losing that. You'll stay. Care for her. Help her heal. He named a number that didn't feel real in any language she'd learned. She thought of Kingston, remittances and eviction notices and hospital, bills that never introduced themselves before, arriving. She thought of her scholarship clawing by claws, she thought, of the child stroking the hem, of a jacket that cost $10 and saved a universe. I'm not a therapist, she said. I'm not a nanny. I'm a student who missed a bus. You're whatever she trusts, he answered, as if the word were a job title. He stepped closer, then stopped, palms open, voice lowering into plea. Please. In that syllable, a father outran a legend. He was only a man trying not to fail the last person he loved. Amara looked at Elena's lashes, damp with sleep, at the IV line, at the hands that had found her on a warehouse floor and decided she was whether the world could survive. 1 month, Amara said at last, hating the way the room exhaled. We'll talk after that. Dante nodded, relief and calculation stitching a truce in his face. 1 month, he echoed. A guard leaned in, whispered something that iced the doorway. Dante's face changed. The father went somewhere to put on armor. Double security on the east wing, he said, each word finding a holster. Move the outer patrols. Nobody comes within 50 yards without my voice. He looked back at Amara. His eyes said both thank you and brace. Sleep while you can, he told her. Outside, the wind remembered how to claw. Inside, a lullaby kept the knives away, one verse at a time. If the night can turn a stranger into an anchor, what will the morning ask her to be? If this moved you even a little, stay. The next door opens wider. Dawn peeled the night off the hill, one slow layer at a time. In the rooms that money built, Amara learned the first rule of the cage. Softness can be a lock. A housekeeper named Helena brought clothes that floated when she touched them. Not gifts. She insisted. Practicalities. Hot water roared in a marble shower that could have hosted a choir. Steam tried to erase the warehouse from Amara's skin. It failed. You do not wash off a night like that. You store it. Down the corridor, Elena slept under a white canopy, IV bag swaying like a mild. Domestic moon. Dr. Ishikawa charted numbers and whispered reassurances with a nurse's economy. Fever trending down. Hydration good, she murmured. But grief is a jealous guest. It won't leave just because we ask nicely. The house itself staged comfort like theater, carpets that swallowed footsteps, lamps with warm amber throats, windows that framed the city as if danger were merely an opinion. But beneath the silk and stone, Amara heard the other orchestra, boots changing posts, radios clicking vowels into code, the metallic syllables of a world that did not forgive. Elena woke small, careful, and searching. Her hand found the denim jacket as if it were a map to daylight. Hi, Amara smiled, voice low, shaped for a room where fear might still be sleeping. The girl's eyes widened, those dark, watchful ponds, and then cleared. She did not speak. She leaned, which was the same word said with bones. Breakfast came on a tray designed to impress a camera, silver covers, sunned fruit, tea that smelled like first rains. Elena refused most of it until Amara tasted everything first. 3 spoonfuls later, the girl relented, eating in shy negotiations. When she finished, she tugged Amara's sleeve toward the window seat. The place where stories like to begin. Do you draw? Amara asked, removing a sketchbook from the nightstand like it had been placed there by fate. Elena hesitated, then nodded the smallest yes. They drew in parallel, 2 sets of hands telling the same truth, different ways. Amara sketched a gull over blue, mountains she remembered more by ache than detail. Elena drew circles that became a room, then a door, then a shadow near the door. Amara did not ask questions with the word why. She drew a lamp beside the shadow and a warm, ridiculous cat. Elena blinked, then added whiskers to the cat until it looked less like a threat and more like a joke. A throat cleared at the doorway. Dante Morales stood there as if the architecture had grown him. Daylight didn't soften him. It clarified him, sanding away rumor and leaving a man whose edges had paid in full. May I? He asked, the king seeking entry to a country where he had no passport. Elena looked up, choosing between past and present. Then, 1 inch at a time, she patted the cushion beside her. Dante crossed the room like a promise he might be able to keep. He did not touch. He sat. From there he watched the drawing unfold, the door, the shadow, the cat becoming braver. You saved her, he said to Amara, and it was not praise. It was an accounting. I stayed, Amara answered. Saving is bigger than one night. He absorbed that like a blow he respected. Dr. Ishikawa appeared, assessed 3 heartbeats of silence, and turned it into a treatment plan. Exposure to safe routine. Play-based recall. No pressure on speech, she said. Then to Dante, quietly, being near is a dose. Talking can wait. After the doctor left, Dante tried near. His hand hovered above the sketchbook. He traced the outline of the cat with air, then smiled, awkward, unarmored. Elena's mouth made a movement that suggested a future word. Her mother, Dante began, then stopped like a man who'd stepped on a memory's tripwire. He reset his breath. She loved stars, put glow constellations on the ceiling, sang about them when the house forgot to be kind. Amara heard the shift, a corridor opening that grief usually guards. She still can, Amara said. Grief doesn't cancel love. It just makes love heavier. Dante watched Elena's lashes flicker, a wind through fine branches. My wife died in a car accident, he said. The report calls it rain and timing. I call it something else I can't prove. He did not say Koslova. He didn't need to. The walls knew the word. Elena slid the sketchbook toward him, small finger tapping the cat with a decisive, sunny authority. For an instant, Dante was only a father who had been given homework. He drew terrible whiskers. Elena laughed, one short, startled sound. Like a window opening in a locked house, Dante's eyes shone and then pretended they didn't. Terms, he said later. In the sitting room off the hall when Elena drifted back to sleep, the fireplace pretended it knew winter. On the table, a folder waited like a dare. Salary that could purchase silence, clauses that could criminalize memory, an apartment within the house that had no landlord and too many locks. I don't belong in this world, Amara said. No one does, Dante answered. Some of us simply pay admission. He slid the contract closer. Health insurance that would have saved her mother months of worry. A number that blotted out tuition. Debt and the shape of hunger. I'm a student, she offered, as if the word could defend her. You're the person she trusts, he said again, as if that were a profession higher than any office could assign. She signed 1 month, and the page felt heavier after the ink dried, as if summoned by fresh commitment. Marcus, the lead of Shadows, appeared with a phone at his ear and a weathered face that knew bad news before it learned nouns. He didn't speak to her. He spoke around her into Dante's gaze. Movement on the eastern ridge. 2 drones traced, 1 signal masked. Dante stood so slowly the room had time to understand. Protocol black, he said. Shutter the north lane. Wake the west team. Nobody near my daughter's door. Nobody. The house changed. Temperature comfort stepped aside to let purpose through. Amara felt the floor tilt under a new gravity, the one where kindness needs bodyguards. Is it them? She asked Marcus when Dante was already gone, his voice turning into orders down the hall. Marcus's mouth became a thin line that didn't like rumors. They don't go away, he said. They regroup. Elena stirred and murmured from the bedroom, a syllable shaped like stay. Amara moved to the doorframe, holding 2 worlds with 1 spine. If a palace can close like a fist, what happens to the hand inside it? If this moment tightened your chest, stay close, because the next sound you hear might not be the wind. Night claimed the estate the way ocean claims sand, again and again, without apology. Amara lay in a room larger than her entire apartment. The silence dressed in velvet, but silence can be heavy, heavy enough to press the air from your lungs. She stared at the ceiling, where chandeliers dangled like galaxies out of reach. Her phone, now charged, lit the side table with a ghostly glow. 30 unread messages from her roommate, 2 threats from the landlord, 1 reminder about overdue tuition. The world outside this mansion still remembered her as poor, late, replaceable. Inside, she had contracts written in gold ink and promises she didn't believe. Elena slept in the next room. The child's breathing came through the monitor like a fragile lullaby. Every few minutes, Amara would listen close. making sure that sound did not disappear. She remembered the warehouse, the cold, the choice, the tiny hand gripping her sleeve, and wondered what miracle had trapped her here. Not a rescue. Not yet. A postponement, a knock. Gentle, but not optional. Marcus stepped in, his frame shadowing the hall light. "Mr. Morales requests you," he said, as if requesting were the same as commanding. Amara followed down corridors that felt longer than maps. Paintings of saints and wars watched her walk, whispering about sacrifice. The office was carved from dark wood and steel patience. Dante sat behind a desk built to intimidate. But tonight, intimidation slipped. Shadows under his eyes made him look breakable, almost human. He pushed a folder toward her without introduction. "Employment terms," he said. Amara flipped through pages. Clauses about confidentiality, protection, forbidden contacts. And at the center, $50,000 per month. Healthcare, a room in the mansion, a golden cage with locks disguised as kindness. "This is insane," she whispered. "It's business," he replied. "I'm not a nanny. I'm not a therapist. You are what she needs." The certainty in his voice left no space for argument. Amara set the folder down, palms sweating. "What happens if I say no?" Dante leaned forward. His eyes were dark honey turned to glass. "Then she loses the first person she has trusted in 4 months. And I will not allow that." The fire snapped behind him, punctuating his vow. Amara thought of her mother's unpaid medical bills, her scholarship gasping, the mold on the ceiling of her apartment, the warehouse floor where Elena had finally slept safe. All roads bent the same way. "1 month," she said. "I'll stay 1 month. Then we decide again." Dante's lips curved in a shape that almost remembered how to smile. "1 month," he repeated, sealing the lie both of them recognized. Before she could breathe relief, Marcus's radio crackled. A voice spat coordinates, urgency. Marcus stiffened, whispered into Dante's ear. The man who had looked human a moment ago vanished. The boss returned. "Carved sharp by command. Eastern perimeter breached. Double patrols. Secure the south gate. Nobody enters her room." He strode past Amara, already turning into war. Marcus lingered, his gaze softer. "This house protects, but it also imprisons," he said quietly. "Remember that, Miss Johnson. For both of you." Amara stood frozen in the office, the folder still glowing with impossible numbers. Above her, the mansion groaned, settling into lockdown. Somewhere in the east wing, boots thundered. Radios hissed. The air tasted like coming storm. Elena's voice carried faintly through the monitor on Dante's desk. One word. Fragile but insistent. "Stay." Amara touched the speaker with trembling fingers. She didn't know if the girl was begging her or warning her. Morning arrived like it didn't know the night had tried to kill it. Sunlight cut through curtains, scattering gold across a room that had been built to impress, not to comfort. Amara sat cross-legged on Elena's bed, watching the child draw, the paper filled with lines that trembled but insisted on existing. Doors, windows, a corner shaded dark. Then, beside it, a crooked cat with ears too big. Elena pointed, lips parting, but no sound came. "You don't have to talk yet," Amara said gently. Her fingers brushed the girl's hair into order. "Drawing is a voice too, and your cat looks like it has secrets." For the first time, Elena smiled. Thin, fleeting, but a smile. The door creaked. Dante stood there, his suit perfect, his eyes tired. He watched his daughter without speaking. The sight of her bent over paper, alive and creating, seemed to undo him. Amara noticed his jaw tighten like he was fighting something stronger than himself. She laughed, Amara told him softly. It felt like a gift he didn't know how to unwrap. He nodded, unable to mask the wet gleam at the edge of his eyes. "May I?" he asked, and his voice carried the hesitation of a man uninvited into his own home. Elena looked up, then patted the space beside her. Dante crossed the room slowly, as though stepping into holy ground. He sat, too stiff at first, until Elena tugged the pencil from Amara's hand and pushed it at him, a command no Mafia empire could ignore. His hand shook slightly as he drew beside her, crooked lines, uncertain curves. The cat became worse under his touch, and Elena laughed again, a quick burst like a bird escaping a cage. Dante froze, drinking in the sound, then bent lower to keep her laughing. He looked ridiculous. He looked human. Amara caught herself smiling, then pulled it back, afraid of what it meant. Later in the garden, Amara walked with Elena under the watch of men disguised as gardeners. Flowers lined the paths like careful illusions. But the real weight was the eyes following every step. Elena bent to pick a daisy, then pressed it into Amara's palm. Her way of saying, "You belong here." Even if you don't believe it, Amara wanted to. But the mansion was a theater of control. Every door had locks that whispered warnings. Every corner had cameras that blinked when she passed. It felt less like luxury and more like velvet prison bars. "Do you ever get to leave?" she asked Marcus when he appeared from nowhere, as he often did. He shrugged. "Leaving isn't safety. Staying isn't freedom. Everything is trade." His eyes softened for a second. "Don't forget that, Miss Johnson." Elena tugged Amara's sleeve. Her lips moved. Amara leaned closer, hardly daring to breathe. The child whispered, broken but real, "Don't go." The words were shards, jagged and trembling, but words all the same. Amara wrapped the girl into her arms, eyes stinging. "You don't have to worry," she whispered. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." From the terrace above, Dante stood frozen, listening. The air around him shifted. Rage at the world that had broken his daughter, and something else when he looked at Amara holding her. A recognition, a surrender. The house sighed into silence. But silence never stays long in places built on power. A guard's radio crackled. "Urgent!" Marcus's voice snapped sharp commands. Dante's phone lit, and his face hardened, shutters slamming down. The first laugh. The first words, fragile miracles, and already, shadows were moving closer. The night did not knock. It arrived with a blackout. One moment. Chandeliers glowed soft gold across polished halls. The next, the entire estate drowned in dark. Silence lasted only a heartbeat before red emergency lights burst alive, washing every surface in warning. Elena screamed, not loud. Her voice was still half a prisoner, but sharp, enough to cut through Amara's chest. Amara scooped her up, whispering lullabies that cracked against her own fear. "It's okay, baby. I've got you. We're safe." She had no proof of that. Guards flooded the hall, guns drawn, voices clipped into code. "Lockdown protocol. Safe room now." Amara clutched Elena tighter. Boots thundered against marble. Doors slammed. The house that had seemed like velvet moments ago now pulsed like a fortress under siege. Marcus appeared, calm but urgent. "This way." His eyes found Amara's and held them, steady, grounding her. "Do not stop. Do not look back." They ran. Elena buried her face in Amara's shoulder, trembling with every step. The air smelled of smoke and gun oil. Somewhere distant, glass shattered. Gunfire cracked like a cruel kind of fireworks. The safe room hid behind a bookshelf. Hydraulics groaned as Marcus pushed the hidden door open. Inside, concrete walls. Monitors flickering with feeds of chaos. Supplies stacked with military precision. "Stay here. No one opens this door except me or Mr. Morales," Marcus ordered. The steel sealed them in, shutting out the war but not the fear. On the screens, Amara watched the world she didn't belong to unfold. Intruders, in black tactical gear, moved like practiced predators. Through the estate, Dante's guards fought back in bursts of fire and shadows. And then she saw him, Dante himself, weapon in hand, moving with terrifying precision. Not the man at his daughter's bedside, not the father who drew bad cats to make her laugh, but a storm in human form. Efficient, furious, unstoppable. Elena whimpered, clutching Amara's jacket. "Papa's going to die," she whispered. voice breaking like glass. No. Amara pressed her forehead to the child's. Your papa is the scariest man those bad guys have ever met. He'll come back. I promise. She prayed she wasn't lying. Minutes stretched, like rope about to snap. Then the camera feed showed an intruder creeping, closer to the panic room, 3 doors away. 2. 1. Amara's. Pulse roared. She spotted the fire extinguisher on the wall, grabbed it with both hands. Her arms shook, but she planted herself in front of Elena. Stay behind me. Don't move. The hidden door began to slide. A masked man entered. Gun raised. You picked the wrong family, he growled. Amara swung the extinguisher. It cracked against his head, hard enough to stagger him, not enough to stop the shot. He aimed straight at her chest. Time slowed. She saw Elena in the corner, tiny hands covering her face. She saw the end of herself, of promises, of everything. And then Dante was there, violence wrapped in precision. He struck once, twice. The intruder crumpled before the trigger could fall. Dante kicked the weapon away, eyes wild as he turned to Amara. Are you hurt? She couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. No. We're okay. Elena launched herself into his arms, sobbing. Dante caught her, holding her close, but his eyes never left Amara's. You hit him, he said quietly. Amara's hands trembled, blood roaring in her ears. I couldn't let him hurt her. For a long moment, Dante just stared, and then something shifted. Respect, recognition, and something he hadn't meant anyone to see. The estate smelled of smoke long after the fire was gone. Walls had been patched, windows replaced, guards rotated, but the air still carried the ghost of gunpowder. Elena clung harder now, day and night, as if letting go might invite shadows back through the doors. She refused to sleep unless Amara was beside her. Some nights, Amara hummed until her throat ached. Other nights, she whispered stories about seas and stars, about women who crossed oceans with nothing but faith, about voices that refused to vanish. The child listened like someone learning how to breathe. And sometimes she answered, not always with words, but with drawings. Her crayon worlds filled page after page, houses with too many doors, stick figures with wide eyes, shadows that leaned in, and slowly, softer drawings emerged, flowers, cats, a girl holding hands with someone taller. One afternoon in the garden, Elena tugged Amara's sleeve and whispered, Mama used to sing about stars. It was the first full sentence Amara had heard. Her chest cracked open with hope and sorrow all at once. You can sing it for me, Amara said. Only if you want. The girl nodded, then hummed broken fragments of a melody, voice raw with disuse. Tears burned Amara's eyes. From the terrace, Dante watched, unmoving, as if afraid one wrong step would break the fragile miracle. He looked like a man starved, finally offered bread he wasn't sure he deserved. That night, Amara found him in his office, papers strewn like abandoned weapons. He wasn't reading them. He was staring at a photo, a woman with dark hair, laughter frozen mid-motion. My wife, he said without lifting his eyes. Maria. Amara didn't answer. Silence felt truer than sympathy. She begged me to leave this life. I told her, just one more deal, just a little more security, then the accident. His jaw tightened. The police called it weather. I call it a warning. The Kozlov family sent it. His voice dropped into steel. They wanted me broken. Instead, they made me dangerous. Amara shivered. She had seen the dangerous part, gun in hand, fury in motion. But here, in the quiet, he looked more haunted than terrifying. You don't have to be only that, she said softly. His eyes lifted, searching hers as though she held a truth he couldn't name. Before he could answer, Marcus entered, unannounced. Always half a shadow, sir. There's someone here to see Miss Johnson. Amara frowned. Me? In the sitting room, a woman waited, disguised in plain clothes. Detective Sarah Vega. She smiled, but the smile carried knives. Miss Johnson, she said smoothly. You've been difficult to locate. A folder slid across the table. Photos spilled out, corpses in alleys, weapons, men in black suits Amara had seen on the security feeds. Dante Morales, Vega said. Suspected murder, racketeering, extortion, and you're now living inside his house. Amara froze. I take care of his daughter. That's all. That's enough, Vega pressed. 3 weeks ago, 8 men attacked this estate. 2 dead, the rest disappeared. No reports. No investigation. You were there. You saw it. You can help us put him away? Amara's pulse hammered. And if I don't? Vega leaned forward, voice sharpening. Then when he falls, and he will, you'll go down with him. But if you cooperate, we can protect you. New identity. New life. Safety. The word rang false. Safety. It sounded like a bribe dressed as salvation. Vega slid a card across the table. You have 48 hours. Call me or next time we meet I won't be this friendly. Marcus reappeared, eyes cool but troubled. Elena is asking for you, he said. But his glance lingered, warning in its weight. As Amara left, Vega's voice followed her like smoke. Don't waste this chance. The detective's card burned in Amara's pocket all night. It felt heavier than her textbooks, sharper than any knife. She lay awake in the room with velvet curtains and endless silence. But sleep refused her. In the next room, Elena whimpered through another nightmare. Amara rushed to her side, climbing into the canopy bed, humming the old lullaby. The child curled against her, whispering, "Don't leave me." Everyone leaves. The words tore Amara apart. She stayed there until dawn, watching light creep over Elena's face. That fragile trust was worth more than $50,000, more than papers or promises, and yet the card still pulsed against her thigh. 48 hours. Later that morning, Dante found her in the hall. He didn't ask. He already knew. Of course he knew. I won't spy on you, Amara said before he could speak. Her voice was sharper than she intended. Dante studied her with unreadable eyes. I wouldn't blame you if you did, he said at last. The detective's right. Being near me is dangerous. I make enemies faster than friends, and anyone close becomes a target. He stepped closer, shadows clinging to his words. You want to know what happens if you stay? They'll try to use you, torture you for information, or kill you just to hurt me. Amara's chest tightened. Then why keep me here? Because my daughter speaks for you, he said. She laughed for you. She said your name. And if she loses that, she loses everything. He stopped, jaw clenched, composure cracking. You still have an out, Amara. Take it. Leave before I care too much. His voice faltered on the last words. Amara felt her own heart lurch, dangerous in its honesty. It's too late, she whispered. I already care. About Elena, about you, about this family you're trying to hold together. For a long moment, silence stretched between them, thick, heavy, alive. Dante's hand hovered near her face, then dropped. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying, Amara shot back. I'm staying. That night. Amara dreamed of 2 doors, one leading to freedom, the other into fire. When she woke, Elena was holding her hand tightly in her sleep, and Amara realized she had already chosen. But Marcus's warning echoed in her ears. This life destroys good people. She wondered which side of the fire she was standing on. The days that followed blurred into strange rhythms, half lullabies, half gun drills. Mornings belonged to Elena. She would tug Amara into the sunlit garden where guards pretended to trim roses, but never stopped watching. Crayons scattered across a picnic table, paper filling with clumsy stars and crooked cats. Every drawing was a step away from silence. Sometimes she whispered, almost too soft to hear, Mama sang about the stars. Or, don't go far. Each word was fragile glass. But Amara caught them like treasure. When Dante appeared, Elena would shrink at first. He never forced closeness. He stood back, as if afraid his very presence might crush her progress. But one morning, Amara placed a drawing in his hand, 2 stick figures, holding hands under a yellow sun. She made this, Amara said softly. Dante looked at it like it was evidence in a trial he could never win. His eyes flicked to his daughter. Elena watched him nervously, then whispered, "Papa." The sound shattered the air. Dante dropped to his knees, arms open but hesitant, as though she might vanish if he reached too fast. Elena moved closer, tiny steps, and placed the paper in his hand. For the first time in months, she touched him first, a tentative hug, a gift he hadn't dared hope for. Amara looked away, giving them privacy. But she heard the tremor in his voice. "I missed you, mi Estrella," and she heard Elena's reply, a whisper like dawn breaking. "I missed you too." That night, Amara found herself staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. The mansion felt both alive and suffocating. Every kindness came wrapped in chains. She walked onto the terrace. Dante was there, of course, always awake, staring at the city's lights like they might answer something. "You're helping her heal," Amara said quietly. "She's helping me," he corrected. His voice cracked, then steadied. "After Maria? I couldn't even look at Elena without seeing everything I failed to protect." He gripped the railing until his knuckles blanched. "But tonight, she called me Papa again. Do you know what that means?" "Yes," Amara said. "It means she's finding her way back, because she knows she's not alone anymore." Dante turned toward her, something unguarded in his eyes. "Not alone," he repeated, like a man relearning the taste of hope. For a moment, the silence between them was not heavy. It was tender. A silence that asked a question neither dared answer. And then Marcus appeared in the doorway, voice sharp. "Boss, we have movement near the east perimeter." The spell broke. Dante's eyes hardened. Shutters slamming down. "Double security," he ordered. Amara's chest tightened. The progress they'd made with Elena felt like sunlight breaking through clouds, but storms still circled, closer every night. The warning came in flickers. A light on the far wall blinked twice. Marcus's radio hissed. Code spoken too fast for Amara to catch. Then darkness. Every chandelier, every hallway lamp died at once. Emergency lights roared awake. "Bathing marble in blood red. Safe room protocol," Marcus barked. His hand was already on Amara's arm, guiding, pushing. "Elena first. Move." Amara scooped the child into her arms. Elena clung to her neck, trembling, whispering a single word again and again. "No. No. No." The halls convulsed with sound, boots pounding, doors slamming, shouts like thunder. The mansion was not a home now. It was a battlefield. They ran through shadowed corridors, hearts thundering with the storm outside and in. Somewhere close, gunfire cracked sharp and final. Amara's blood turned to ice. Inside the panic room again, steel. "Concrete, screens alive with chaos." Marcus sealed the door. "Stay put. Don't open for anyone but me or Mr. Morales." Then he vanished into the war. Amara tried to steady her breathing. Elena whimpered against her, clutching Amara's jacket like a lifeline. On the monitors, shadows moved fast, men in black tactical gear breaching defenses, and Dante was in motion too, gun in hand. Fury in his stride, a storm given flesh. Amara had seen him tender. She had seen him broken. But this was another man entirely. He moved with deadly precision, each shot exact, each strike final. He was violence carved into muscle and bone, and she couldn't look away. "Papa's going to die," Elena whispered. "No," Amara said, even as her own pulse betrayed her. "Your papa is the scariest man those bad guys will ever meet. He's coming back. He has to." But then one feed showed what her voice couldn't deny, an intruder slipping past the defense, creeping down the east hall, 3 doors from the panic. "Room!" Amara's breath caught. She spotted the fire extinguisher on the wall. Her hands trembled as she lifted it. "Stay behind me," she told. "Elena, whatever happens, you don't move." The door hissed. A masked man entered. "Gun raised! You picked the wrong house!" he snarled. Amara swung the extinguisher. It struck hard, staggering him. but not enough. The muzzle of his gun swung back toward her chest. Time fractured, Elena's cry, her own heartbeat like a drum of war, the trigger beginning to pull. And then Dante burst through the doorway, a blur of violence. Swift and merciless, one strike to the weapon, one strike to the man. The intruder collapsed before the shot could fire. Dante kicked the gun aside and spun to Amara, eyes wild, breath ragged. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, too shocked to speak. "We're okay," she forced out. "We're okay." Elena launched into his arms. Sobbing, Dante caught her, clutching tight, but his gaze stayed locked on Amara. "You fought," he whispered, disbelief and something else in his tone. "You protected her." Amara's hands trembled violently. I just couldn't let him hurt her." For a heartbeat, silence hung heavy between them, and in Dante's eyes, something shifted. Respect, recognition, a dangerous kind of closeness neither of them could afford. On the monitors, Marcus's voice crackled, "Koslov men down. All neutralized or captured. Perimeter secure." But Amara knew. This was not the end. It was only the first warning. The house smelled of bleach and fear. The floors had been scrubbed clean. The bullet holes patched, the broken glass swept away. But Amara knew the truth. No soap could wash away the memory of blood echoing in these halls. Elena had regressed. The progress of laughter and words had faltered under the weight of the attack. She clung to Amara tighter than ever, sleeping only when Amara hummed. The child's voice, once a fragile miracle, retreated again into silence. Amara's chest ached every time she saw Dante outside the bedroom door. He stood watch like a sentry, never entering until Elena's breathing softened into dreams. Guilt shadowed his eyes, though he tried to hide it. "She'll come back," Amara whispered to him one night in the hall. "Voices don't vanish forever. They wait for safety." Dante's reply was jagged. "And what if I can't give her that? What if my presence is the danger?" Amara met his gaze. "You're her father. She needs you more than she fears your world." His hands flexed at his sides. "You sound so sure." "I'm not," Amara admitted. "But I've seen what happens when a child has no one to stand for them, and she has you. That matters." The next morning, a storm of a different kind arrived. Detective Sarah Vega returned, this time without disguise, flashing a badge like a weapon. Marcus bristled but let her in under Dante's order. They met in the study. Vega dropped a stack of files on the desk. Photos spilling like accusations, 8 dead men. No reports, no trials. Just vanishing. "Tell me, Mr. Morales, where did they go?" Dante leaned back, expression carved in ice. "Careful, detective. You're in my house." Vega smirked. "And you're in mine, my jurisdiction, my city." Her eyes cut to Amara. "You've seen enough to know what he is. Help me, and I can get you out!" "Both of you." "Both?" Amara's voice caught. "Elena," Vega said smoothly, "Child Protective Services will never leave her here once I build the case. But if you cooperate, I can make sure custody falls to you. She trusts you, doesn't she? I saw it in her file. You're the only one she speaks to." Amara's blood turned cold. It was a knife disguised as kindness. Save the child by betraying the father. Vega slid the same card across the desk as before. 48 hours, she repeated. After that, I stopped asking nicely. She left the way she came, leaving silence like ash in her wake. Dante broke it. "She's not wrong," he said. Amara spun to him. "You're agreeing with her?" "I'm saying," his voice was quiet steel, "that every day you and Elena are with me, you live in the crosshairs. The law will come. My enemies will come. You will pay for my sins, and that's not fair." Amara's heart pounded. "But she needs you. She needs safety," Dante corrected. "And I don't know if I can give her that anymore." That night, Amara lay awake again, the detective's card burning in her pocket. Elena's hand rested against hers in sleep, tiny fingers clinging even in dreams. Between the law and loyalty, between justice and survival, the choice loomed heavy. But Amara knew. Whichever path she chose, Something would break. The question was, what or who? Rain hammered the windows that night, a storm that seemed determined to drag secrets out of the walls. Amara found Dante on the terrace, a glass of whiskey untouched beside him. He didn't turn when she stepped into the cold. "My father built this empire," he said, voice low, almost drowned by the rain. He crawled out of nothing with his fists, his blood, his rage. "He taught me one thing, power or death." "There is no middle ground," Amara wrapped her arms around herself. "That's what you believe?" "No," his jaw tightened. "That's what he believed, and I carried it like gospel." He exhaled, shoulders heavy. "Maria, my wife, wanted something else. She wanted peace, family, a life without guns in every shadow. She begged me to walk away. I promised her after one last deal. After one more consolidation." His eyes burned as he turned to Amara. "She died before I kept that promise." The storm swallowed the silence between them. Amara whispered, "You think they killed her?" "I know they did." His voice cracked like the sky. "The Kozlov family. They've circled for years. They couldn't reach me, so they took her. And when Elena stopped speaking, I realized I'd lost both of them." He pressed his palms flat against the railing, head bowed. "I swore then I'd burn every rival, every betrayal, until Elena could live without fear. But every step I take makes her world darker. And now you're in it too." Amara's heart twisted. "Dante, she doesn't need an empire. She needs her father." He flinched as though she'd struck him. Her voice softened. "She draws pictures of you, always with her, always watching, but never close. She's waiting for you to sit beside her, not stand above her. She doesn't need your war. She needs your hand." For a long time he said nothing. Rain soaked his shirt, his hair, but he didn't move. Finally his voice broke. "I don't know how to be that man." "Start small," Amara said gently. "Tomorrow morning, breakfast with her. Not 5 minutes. Stay. Ask about her drawings. Listen. Let her show you the world she's building back." Dante looked at her, something raw in his eyes. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect? Someone easier to keep at a distance?" he said quietly. His hand lifted, hesitated, then covered hers on the railing, warm, careful, almost fragile. Lightning tore across the sky. For one dangerous moment, it felt like the world had paused, two broken people standing on the edge of something neither could name. Then Marcus appeared in the doorway, voice sharp with urgency. "Boss, the detective will return tomorrow. She has a warrant." The storm outside paled compared to the one inside Amara's chest. The clock was ticking. Tomorrow, she would have to choose. Morning came heavy, as though the night had left its storm behind. Amara woke to find Elena curled against her, a fistful of crayon drawings clutched in sleep. Cats, stars, stick figures, always 2 tall ones and a smaller one. Between, always together, the weight of that. Paper stack felt heavier than the detective's. Cards still hidden in Amara's pocket. One was a child's. Fragile hope. The other, a demand to betray it. Downstairs, Dante was waiting. He looked different in daylight. Tired, human, his shirt sleeves rolled, shadows under his eyes. But the weight he carried was unchanged. "They'll come today," he said without preamble. "Vega has her warrant. She'll want evidence, leverage. You." Amara's throat went dry. "You. Think I'd turn on you? I think you'd be smart if you did." His voice wasn't sharp, it was weary. "They'll offer you protection, money, custody of Elena, if they can twist the law far enough. And I can't promise you I'll win against them. Amara, not this time." He leaned forward, voice rough. "But whatever happens, you save her." "Promise me that." Amara's pulse thundered. "You want me to betray you?" "I want you to save my daughter," Dante said, each word ground out like stone. "I've done enough to deserve prison. Maybe worse. But Elena deserves more than shadows and guards. She deserves a chance to grow without blood on her hands." He stepped closer, eyes blazing with something like desperation. "If Vega forces you to choose. Choose Elena, even if it costs me. Amara's chest cracked under the weight of his plea. She thought of Elena's whisper. Don't leave me! She thought of the child's trembling, hands pressing daisies into her palm. And she thought of Dante, storm and grief and fury, begging her to be the one thing he couldn't. Tears burned her eyes. There has to be another way. There isn't, he said. Either you betray me, or the world takes her from both of us. That's the truth. The silence stretched like a knife between them. Amara wanted to scream, to run, to tear the walls down until the world made sense again. Instead, she whispered, I won't let her lose you. Not completely. For the first time, Dante's mask cracked. He reached for her hand, held it briefly, fiercely, then let go. Then you're stronger than I am. That night, Amara lay awake again, Elena's soft breathing beside her. The detective's card burned like fire in her pocket. The choice loomed closer with every heartbeat. Tomorrow, the world would demand her answer, and whichever path she chose, someone she loved would break. Detective Vega returned at dawn. No disguises this time. No polite smiles. Just the cold authority of a badge and a warrant clutched like a blade. The study filled with her presence. Dante sat behind his desk, every inch the man of power. But Amara saw the tension in his jaw. Marcus stood at his shoulder, unreadable, but his hand never strayed far from his weapon. Vega placed a folder on the desk, flipping it open. Photos, names, transaction ledgers that bled ink like wounds, evidence gathered over years. Waiting only for one final witness. You're done. Morales, she said flatly. We both know it. The only question is whether your daughter ends up in foster care, or with someone she trusts. Her eyes slid to Amara. Your testimony seals it. You've lived here, seen what he is. Sign the statement and I'll make sure the judge grants you custody of Elena. You'll walk out clean. She'll walk out safe. Everyone wins, except him. The room pulsed with silence. Elena's faint laugh from the garden floated through the open window. Amara's chest ached. She looked at Dante. He didn't beg. He didn't plead. He simply met her eyes with the weight of truth. Save her, his gaze said, even if it destroys me. Her hand shook as she touched the pen Vega pushed across the table. It felt heavier than iron. Amara, Vega pressed, voice sharpening. Don't think. Don't hesitate. Do the right thing before this world swallows you whole. Amara's breath caught. The law on one side, loyalty on the other, Elena's future balanced between. Finally, she whispered, if I sign, she doesn't lose him completely. Weekly visits, letters, calls. You don't erase him from her life. Vega blinked, then smiled thinly. Agreed, so long as you cooperate fully. Dante exhaled, slow, steady, like a man surrendering to the inevitable. Do it, he said quietly. Give her the life I can't. Amara's hand trembled as the pen touched paper. Every stroke felt like betrayal. Every letter, a promise. When it was done, Vega closed the folder with satisfaction. Wise choice. But Amara knew wisdom had nothing to do with it. It was survival. It was sacrifice, and it was the beginning of a price none of them had yet measured. The knock on the door came like thunder. Uniforms poured into the mansion. Federal agents with hard eyes and harder weapons. The house that had once hidden shadows now blazed with the light of law. Elena screamed when she saw them. She bolted into Amara's arms, clutching her shirt, her voice breaking in terror. Don't let them take Papa! Please don't let them! Dante stood in the foyer, surrounded. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. His gaze stayed on his daughter, drinking in every inch of her as if trying to memorize her for the years ahead. Two agents moved forward. Marcus bristled, his hand twitching near his weapon. But Dante raised a hand. No! Let them! The cuffs clicked around his wrists. The sound tore through the marble halls like a verdict. Papa! Elena's cry split the air, raw, broken. She kicked and thrashed in Amara's hold, but Amara only tightened her arms. Her own eyes burned as she whispered, "He's still here." "He's not leaving you." "Not really." Dante's voice, rough but steady, reached across the chaos. "Elena, mi estrella, listen to me. I love you. Nothing they do can change that." Tears streaked his daughter's face as she reached out. An agent moved to pull him away. "Wait," Amara said sharply. She stepped forward, her voice shaking but fierce. "She needs to touch him." One last time, the agents hesitated, then allowed it. Dante knelt, chains clinking, and Elena crashed into his chest. His arms closed around her, iron against iron, holding on as though the world might rip her away forever. "You'll see me again," he whispered into her hair. "Every week, I promise. You be brave for me, mi estrella." "Brave like your mama." Amara swallowed hard, forcing strength into her voice. "She will be, because she won't be alone." Dante's eyes found hers. For a heartbeat, the world shrank to just them. Shared grief. Shared promise. "Take care of her," he said. It was both a plea and a command. "I will," Amara vowed. Then they pulled him away. The doors slammed, and the silence left behind was worse than the noise. That night, the mansion felt hollow. Elena refused to eat, refused to sleep. Her small body curled into a tight knot on Amara's lap. The child's voice rasped against Amara's chest. "They took him. Everyone leaves." Amara stroked her hair, whispering steady even as her own heart cracked. "Not everyone. I'm still here. And I'm not leaving. Ever." The words tasted like a vow. A vow Amara had no choice but to keep. Outside, cameras still blinked, guards still patrolled, but the empire had fractured. Inside, in the quiet, a new family began to form, shaped not by blood or power, but by promises made in the ruins of both, and Amara knew this was only the beginning. The visitation room smelled of bleach and old metal, rows of tables divided by glass partitions. Agents lingered at the edges, watching every movement. It was a place designed to strip tenderness out of human connection. Amara sat with Elena on her lap, her small hands shaking, clutching the fabric of Amara's sleeve. Her eyes darted wide and fearful, until the heavy door opened. Dante stepped through. Prison orange replaced his tailored suits, but the power in his presence remained. Still, there was something different. His shoulders carried the weight of chains, even when his wrists were free of them. Elena froze. For a heartbeat, she didn't move, as though she no longer trusted her eyes. "Papa," she whispered. The sound cracked through the sterile air. Dante's face broke. Relief, pain, love, all at once. He dropped to his knees on the other side of the glass. Hands pressed against it. "Elena," his voice was raw. "Mi estrella, I'm here." "I'll always be here." Amara guided the child's hand up, pressing her palm to the glass where his waited. For a moment, it was as if the barrier didn't exist. Tears slid down Dante's face, unchecked. "You're so brave," he whispered. "You gave me reason to keep breathing when I thought I couldn't. You and her." His eyes flicked to Amara, and for a heartbeat, gratitude burned so fiercely it felt like confession. Elena's lips trembled. "They said you're bad," she murmured. "That you can't come home." Dante's throat tightened. "I made mistakes," he admitted softly. "Big ones. And now I have to make them right. But nothing, no walls, no guards, can take away this truth. I am your papa, and I love you." Elena pressed her forehead to the glass. "I love you too." Amara's chest ached. The guard cleared his throat. Signaling time was almost up. Dante straightened, his face hardening again, but his eyes never left his daughter. "Listen to Amara," he said firmly. "She'll keep you safe. She'll teach you. She'll remind you to laugh. Trust her, mi estrella. She's family now." The words wrapped around Amara like chains and wings all at once. She nodded, her voice steady despite the storm inside. "I'll take care of her. Always." The guard moved. The door clanged shut, and Elena sobbed into Amara's chest, her tiny body shaking with grief and love tangled together. Amara rocked her gently, whispering the same words again and again. He's still here. We'll see him again. Every week. You're not alone. And as the sterile room emptied, Amara realized she wasn't alone either. The weight she carried was no longer just hers. It was theirs. 6 months later, the world looked smaller, but brighter. The mansion was gone, sold off piece by piece. The guards dispersed like ghosts of a war no one wanted to remember. In its place, a 2-bedroom apartment above a corner store. Its walls covered in Elena's crayon drawings, stars, cats, flowers, and always 3 figures holding hands beneath the sun. Amara pushed Elena on a swing in the public park nearby. The chains squeaked, children laughed. Pigeons scattered at their feet. It was ordinary. It was everything. "Higher, Amara!" Elena giggled, her voice strong now, no longer a ghost of itself. Amara grinned. "Any higher and you'll fly away." The sound of the girl's laughter, clear, unbroken, filled the space like music. Amara let herself breathe it in. Every Sunday, they visited the prison. The first time had been unbearable, Elena crying against the glass, Dante breaking down in front of strangers. But the visits grew gentler. Dante knelt every time, listening to Elena's stories as if she were reading him the secrets of the universe. Her school projects, her new friends, the book Amara was helping her read. He soaked up every word like sunlight through bars. On one visit, Elena held up a drawing, 3 stick figures, one behind glass, 2 outside, but all smiling. Dante's jaw clenched. "Tears threatening. You're my light." "Mi estrella," he whispered. "And you," he added, eyes flicking to Amara, "are the reason I can keep walking through this darkness." Amara held his gaze, the weight of his gratitude pressing against her chest. She nodded once. It was all either of them dared. Back in the apartment, life wasn't easy. Bills piled. Work was constant. But there was laughter. There were dinners filled with Elena's chatter, and there were texts from Dante, brief but alive. "Thank you for the photos. She looks happy. I love you both. So much." Amara would type back carefully, "We love you too. See you Sunday." And every time, Elena would add her own note in shaky handwriting, "Papa, I'm brave." Just like you said. One evening as the sun bled across the horizon, Elena curled into Amara's lap holding a new drawing. "Do you think Papa's proud of me?" she asked. Amara brushed hair from her face. "I know he is. You're the bravest, smartest, most amazing girl in the world." Elena looked up, eyes shining. "Do you think he's proud of you too?" The question caught Amara off guard. Her throat tightened. "Why would he be proud of me?" "Because you saved us," Elena whispered. "You're my hero." "And Papa's too." He told me. Tears blurred Amara's vision. 6 months ago, she had been a broke immigrant student, trapped between hunger and debt, missing the last bus home. Now she was a mother, a protector, a bridge between a father and a daughter that prison walls could not erase. She kissed Elena's hair, whispering, "We saved each other," the little girl giggled, pressing the drawing into her hands. And Amara realized, sometimes the best families are made not by blood, but by sacrifice, by love, and by a single night when a stranger chose kindness over fear.